important for him than substance?
I think appearance was super important to him, and it was the appearance not just of himself, but of everybody and the whole big picture. And he wanted to portray this big picture and everything.
It was like you had to always look nice. It mattered to him so much. It almost became more important than anything else.
I think he was so concerned about what other people thought of the outside that he just lost focus that it's really the inside that needs more care.
Hi, besties. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Well, the tell all was more than a week ago, and that was the final episode of season 19. And there will be a season 20, although I don't know how season 20 is going to play out, given that so many of you don't even care anymore about this family or about the story. Because as long as Kody and Robyn are on the show, many of you find it just uncomfortable. And I can't blame you. I really can't. I think at this point, it reminds me of, the roll-offs. When the show has run its course and you're just hanging on by a thread and you're just working because it's a paycheck and you're just trying to piece together content for a show, and the show has become so different than what it was ever supposed to be about. That's how I viewed the very last, 5 or 6 seasons of Little People Big World, where they just kept trucking and trucking and trucking and making content, and people just kept leaving, and at one point, it was only, like, 1 child left on the show, right? Zach and Tori, and then Tori and Zach wanted to leave, and so then the show blows up, and it's over, and at this point, nobody on Sister Wives has left, so they just keep going, and the ratings are still there, and the family still wants to film, but yet this show is deviated so much that it's how do you even have a show about sister wives when there's no sister wives anymore? You know what I mean? Anyway, during the final tell all, there was something that Christine said during the season about how Kody became very focused on what the family looked like, the appearance of the family. And as soon as Robyn came into the picture, he was heavily focused on her, her appearance, how she looked nice all the time, how her kids looked nice all the time. And everyone sort of had to live up to that standard. And it's kind of ironic if you think about it, because when the show started, Kody for sure, I mean, yeah, he was flashier, I guess, than some polygamists, but he was pretty fundamentalist back then. He definitely dressed very conservatively. He didn't have a lot of wealth. The only thing that he really had at that time was he drove that convertible Lexus while literally everyone was driving cars with like tape on them, trying to keep the bumpers together. You know what I mean? And broken down cars and broken down SUVs. But Kody always wanted things for himself to look nice. And I guess that was one indication of his selfishness, right? But as Robyn came into the picture, he always would say things like, "Well, I liked girls that were curvier," but it was very apparent that he liked girls that were thinner because he was very attracted to his diesel jean model that was Robyn Brown, or Robyn Sullivan at the time. And I recall that a hairdresser and makeup artist that helped the family when they did their first photo shoot for People magazine when the show first happened, they told me that they were doing Robyn's hair, and that after doing her hair, she basically redid her whole hair. So Robyn had her hair like done and it looked really nice, and apparently that wasn't good enough for Robyn, and so she had to do it the exact way that, Kody wanted her hair to be, whatever that way was. And while getting dressed and getting her hair and makeup done, apparently this person told me that Kody was just going on and on and on about how attractive she was. And he kept calling her his supermodel wife. And she said that he was saying it very loudly. It wasn't necessarily in front of the other wives, but the other wives would have likely heard him making these comments because they were all in the same house when this was going on. And she said that he was just so fixated on her appearance. and was just making her twirl around in her like outfit with her hair and is like, "Oh, that's my supermodel wife. Oh, you're such a supermodel, blah blah blah." And then she said that her impression was that Kody was really narcissistic, and she found it really off-putting that he would act like that because there was other women in the house, and to sort of put Robyn up on that pedestal felt really demeaning to the other women, as though like that's all that mattered to him. Like, "Oh, I've got my supermodel, so screw the rest of the family," you know? And so, it's not shocking to me that Christine would make a comment that for a long time it was very important for Kody to see what all the other women looked like. And if you recall, not long after, Robyn joins the family, suddenly the episodes of the show turn into the weight loss of the wives. Did Kody ever have to have a weight loss episode? Did Kody ever have to have embarrassing weigh-ins on the show like Janelle did for years, where we heard what her actual weight was, and she was, in many ways disparaged by, you know, personal trainers and talking about how overweight she is and her health is going to have a lot of issues if she maintains this weight, which sure, there are risk factors when you have excess weight, but personal trainers are definitely not doctors. And so I always felt like those conversations were just so degrading to her. And I always felt like maybe she doesn't want to do this, Like, does the world need to know how much she weighs? And then Robyn would be in those episodes and she would weigh the littlest. And then she'd always say things like, well, it's so hard to be skinny. I mean, Kody doesn't even like skinny girls. He always said he liked curvy girls. Right, Robyn. And then Janelle would have to write blogs about her weight loss journey for TLC, which I again felt was very demeaning. And even if that was something that Janelle cared about, it 100% felt like Kody was pushing a storyline. And it felt like these women almost felt like they had to compete with Robyn. And over the years, you know, their weights fluctuated, which again, I don't care about their weights, but it was so obvious that Kody was setting a bar with Robyn about what she looked like that everyone else kind of felt like they had to keep up. And that's not fair to anyone because at that point he had been with those women for a long time and he should just love them for who they are. And he shouldn't care if they're a size 4 or a size 14, right? It doesn't matter. It's what's inside, which is what Christine Brown said at the very beginning. And so, with it coming full circle, and with Christine finally saying, Kody always wanted everyone to look nice and he preferred Robyn and Robyn's kids because they were always put together over everyone else, it made her feel bad. It made her self-esteem go down. It was hard on her. She never felt like she was valued. And then when Robyn comes in, then out of nowhere, Kody writes a book with them and says that he was repulsed by Christine when he married her because when he first met her because she was chubby and she was eating nachos. Okay. And he was interviewed in a tell-all where he said that he was grossed out. And in the book, he said it put the brakes on his feelings for her about whether or not he wanted to marry her, which was really shocking that he would even say that because while he was talking about that, he was sitting on the couch next to Janelle, who at that point was overweight and who at that point, like, how does it make your wives feel if they've put on weight after having 6 kids, which by the way, we all go and fluctuate with our weight. I don't care. But what do you think that did to Janelle to sit next to him and be like, I was grossed out because she was a chubby person eating nachos? Do you think that helped Janelle feel good? Probably not. And over the years, it was just incredibly obvious that Kody wasn't attracted to the other women. He wasn't. He was only attracted to Robyn. And it didn't matter how many times he said things about how he liked curvy women. It didn't matter. It was obvious his preference was Robyn. It was obvious. And so when he did a podcast interview like in 2023, and he made the comment that, when he met Robyn, it was like he met the trophy, the pinnacle of his success. He finally married and found his diesel jeans model. Like he was enamored with her figure and her appearance and her image. Her image. Her image is what he wanted. So be that if you will, whether you believe she's beautiful or not or whatever, I really don't have opinions on Robyn at all. I think all the women have, they're all beautiful in their own right, but it's not fair to place someone on a pedestal like that. But apparently, Kody wasn't just placing his wife on a pedestal, he also did this with his kids. And so on Patreon, while they were going through and watching this episode, Tony made a comment about Kody that I don't necessarily think McKelty liked, but I think it was true. And he did say that for the longest time, when it came to Christine's kids, Aspen was his favorite of all of the kids because Aspen was the prettiest. And Aspen was the one that was always done up and always did her hair and always wore her makeup and always looked the nicest. And so she was his favorite because of how she looked, not because of how she acted, not because of her intelligence or her humor or her kindness or her commitment to the family. It was because of the way that she looked. And he apparently would like place Aspen on a pedestal against the other children because he liked how she looked. I also think he had similar feelings about his daughter Isabel, which is, I think, part of the reason why he didn't want her to have that surgery because he didn't want her to have a scar to like make her ugly. I mean, he was really, really angry about the fact that she would have a scar, as though some sort of scar is an indication that you're no longer perfect or there's something wrong with you, right? But I also think that he had an affinity for Isabel because Isabel is so beautiful. I mean, there's no denying that Christine's daughter, Isabel, is gorgeous. I mean, all of the girls are, but she's stunning. She's like almost 6 feet tall and she's got long blonde hair and, she's just a beautiful girl. And I think Kody had a thing for the girls that were thin, tall, and pretty, right? So Tony says that Aspen was like the prettiest or the most put together. And so she was the favorite for a very long time. And then McKelty got upset and had to admit, that she's never really been his favorite. And then she mentioned that the only time she was ever his favorite was the brief period when she was forced to mediate between Christine and Kody and Robyn after Christine left when it came to Truly and had to be like the person that did all the handoffs for Truly when Kody would come to see or, if they were having to deal with, visitation stuff, she was like the go-between or even the go-between on any communication between Christine and Kody. And that made her his favorite for a while. But it just got me thinking that it's creepy as hell. Creepy that a father would place that on a child and would categorize his children based on appearance and make decisions on who he likes better based on what they look like. And so when Christine was telling Suki in the tell all that it just all became about what everyone looked like on the outside and not about what was on the inside, and he lost sight of that, it's true. I mean, if you have all of your wives fighting about who's going to be the most attractive and how they're going to keep up and look like Robyn, it's going to trickle down to the kids. And so if you start objectifying your children like that, you're almost sexualizing them in a way by making them have to compete to be the most attractive for their father. It's very disturbing. No father or mother, frankly, should be quantifying and objectifying their child in that way and deciding and giving love based on appearance. That's going to lead to insecurity, feelings of poor self-esteem. If a child is not living up to others that are looking a certain way, it could lead to maladaptive behaviors like eating disorders. It could cause anxiety, depression. It could contribute to problems with their weight, whether, like I said, eating disorders. So he's putting such a toxic system in place. And it's really no wonder if you think about it, why he is so obsessed with Aurora and Brianna then. They are always dressed up whenever they're on the show. They always look super good. Their hair is always curled, they're always wearing makeup, they're both tall and thin, they're both beautiful. It's like he just wanted the picture perfect family, and he just wanted to throw away everyone else that didn't fit that image. And then he made his daughters have to compete for his attention by how well they dressed, how thin they were, how pretty they were, objectifying them. That's disgusting, Kody. You're a creep. And, I don't know that McKelty wanted Tony to say that, but I'm so glad that he did because it exposes what we've all been feeling about him for a long time, that he's just has very unhealthy feelings about women and children and appearance, and it's destructive. And I will always find it ironic that it's like he's so focused on, Robyn and what Robyn looks like, but Robyn, her personality is like the grossest of all of them to me. Her personality is so vindictive and so manipulative and so narcissistic it's herself that it's almost as though he had no care or concern for the people that actually had good hearts and kindness and valued the family. He cared less about the value of what the women brought to the table of their like devotion to him and to the family and to the kids and their commitment than he did about they looked like. And he threw it all away for a woman that was 11 years younger that was just thin and in his eyes pretty. That's it. And he says he would never do polygamy again, but I guarantee you if he could have a harem of like all of the robots looking just like Robyn, he'd probably have more wives. That's just my opinion. So what are your thoughts about this idea that he's in a way sexualizing his kids and making determinations on how much he loves them based on their appearances and placing children in a hierarchy? What do you think about that sort of confession by Tony about what he witnessed of Kody? Do you think that's normal for a father or do you think it's not normal? And what do you think about Cody's just obsession in general with appearance? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much. Bye, besties.